Hi everyone, welcome back to another makeup tutorial. Today I will be demonstrating a typical 1920s evening look on actor Rebecca Dyer. Let me know in the comments below if you'd like to see a tutorial based on 1920s movie star makeup. So to prep Rebecca's skin, I am just putting some moisturiser on with a duo fibre brush. And just make sure you get nice, dewy, healthy skin. Lovely. So just working the foundation now, starting at the centre of the face and working it out. And again, I'm using the duo fibre brush, and this will just help to keep the coverage fairly light. Rebecca's got great skin anyway, so she doesn't need that much makeup. Now, pale skin was still very fashionable in the 20s, and blemishes and suntan was not very fashionable, and women would often bleach their skin in order to remove tan and blemishes, and that would be a fairly lengthy process. Well, there are some accounts of women who would spend about 15-20 minutes with bleach on their face until it began to hurt. The things women would do for beauty. So you can see that's a nice, fairly light application of foundation. Okay. So thin arched eyebrows were very fashionable, but if women didn't have thin eyebrows, they would just sort of brush them up and out of the way, and they would use petroleum jelly to help keep the hairs in place. So all I'm doing with your brows is just to brush the hairs up and in a tidy fashion. You've got great brows anyway.
Thank you.
But plucking the eyebrows, it wasn't really encouraged. Eyebrow pencils were very fashionable, and people would pencil their brows as well. So I'm just taking a little bit of balm on a spoolie and just brushing it through the brow hairs at the same time that I'm kind of directing the hairs up and sort of down. Okay, just look up for me. I'm just going to pop a little bit of concealer under the eyes. You don't really need anything, to be honest, it's just to sort of lift this area a little bit. You really only want to put concealer just in this sort of area here where it's a little bit darker. If you put it all the way around, you essentially just flatten that whole area and you still have that shadow, but the whole of that particular area will just be a bit lighter. So you're just lifting the shadow. And everybody has some shadows under the eyes, that's just natural. That's the thinnest part of the skin on the face is under the eyes, so you can't really get away with it. And then just a little bit on the chin. So the next thing I'm going to do is powder. This was fairly essential to 1920s makeup. Every lady used face powder, and it was always loose powder. And again, I'm just going to dust it across the face and starting at the centre again. And just look up for me. And close your eyes. Just going to take that across the lid a little bit as well. So I'm going to use powder blusher because we've already powdered the face with loose powder, so that's why we are using the powder blusher instead of a liquid today. So liquid was more fashionable back then. I'm just going to apply it on the apple of the cheek and just taking it ever so slightly upwards towards the ear. But rouge was very fashionable and women would wear quite a lot of it. Okay, so I'm going to take a matte brown eyeshadow now. I'm just going to load up my brush, just using a fairly flat but kind of fluffy brush. I'm just going to tap the excess off. Just close your eyes for me. And then I'm just going to sort of start closer to the lashes and just gently brush that on. You'll notice I like to do things in light layers, so I apply everything in fairly light layers and then I can build on it if I need to. If you start off with an awful lot of makeup on your brush and you think that actually that's way too much, it's more of a faff to get rid of it and start again. But if you build up in light layers, then you know, you won't waste time on correcting so much. So close to the lash line and then just sort of pull up with your brush to just fade that out softly. And then I'll go in again closer to the lash line. This time I won't pull the product up towards the brow. I will just sort of concentrate it now closer to the lashes for a bit more definition. Women would often kind of colour match their eyeshadow to their eye colour, so that's why I've chosen brown, because Rebecca's eyes are brown. Another popular shade for brown eyes would be plum, and frequently, you know, women would choose green eyeshadow if they had green eyes and that sort of thing. And everything was very matte those days. The textures were all quite flat and matte, and there was no sparkle to cosmetics really. And a lot of people think that the popular makeup of the day was the very smoky, bold makeup that a lot of actresses wore on screen in the movies, but they only wore that much makeup because they were being filmed. They were on the, you know, on big screen, and everything was filmed in black and white. So they had to have bolder makeup. Lovely. And I'm just going to go over that, just to blend it all with a clean, fluffy brush. And then just with a smaller, fairly flat brush, I'm literally just going to go straight in as close as possible to the lashes and just wiggle that black eyeshadow right in there. Just as close as possible to the lashes. And you really don't have to be neat about this. This is just sort of dabbing it on, kind of wiggling it in. It's just for a bit more lash definition more than anything. I'm just going to use some black mascara now, and I apply mascara with a fan brush. Obviously, if you're using your own mascara, you don't need to do this, but I prefer this method than using disposable mascara wands. And if you can't find a brush like this, if you did want to apply makeup, your mascara with a fan brush like this, then I just got this from an art store because I could not find any anywhere at the time, which was many years ago now. I mean, you've got brushes for all sorts of things now. They were available in sort of blocks, and they were called spit blocks. You'd have to wet the mascara block first and then apply it. And a lot of women would spit on it. But just go ahead and pop on your favourite mascara. And if you're doing a day look, then I would just use a brown mascara. I'm going to start by taking a fairly dark-ish red, just very lightly over the lips. And again, with the lipstick, it was very matte, so there was no shimmer to it. And again, this doesn't really have to be neat. As you can see, I'm not being particularly neat. I will go over with a lip brush in a moment and just refine then I'm just going to go over with a lip brush and just sort of blend that in and just make sure I've got the shape I want. And so women would often overextend the lip line in order to create a kind of a rounder mouth. So that's what I'm doing now. Just with what's left of that lip liner and the brush, I'm just ever so slightly buffing the shape outside of Rebecca's natural lip line to create more of a curve here. So you can see the difference. Lovely. And as you can see, I'm just doing really soft kind of buffing motions. And this will help you just sort of get a fairly neat line. I often find if you just go straight in with drawing a line, it never turns out the way you want it to. So I prefer to do small buffing motions, and you get more of a natural look that way as well, because you don't get any harsh lines. Lovely. So next I'm going to go in with a lighter, brighter red, and this one is a cream texture, and it's also matte. And that's going to be more, I'm concentrating that more into the centre of the mouth, just to make it look more three-dimensional. And again, you can really work with the shape of the lips as well with this product too.